when we talk about success and then we talk about this flip side, the contrast of failure, certainly some things that we do have higher stakes associated with them, right? If you take a really big risk on something and there could be some great upside and you achieve that, then everything's fantastic, right? And you know this in the financial markets, right? You've managed a lot of money. But there's some things that are sort of lower risk. And I think part of this concept, this calculus, when it comes to calculating success and failure is applying your resources and your emotion sort of appropriately to different challenges that you have ahead of you. And so in some circumstances, success is not an option. I do some consulting work with the military, and there are some missions that cannot fail. That's simply not an option, right? Because failure would be disastrous in many ways. And so how much preparation, how much time do you put into it, and what kind of strategies do you have to sort of work your way out of it? When I alluded a little bit towards barriers to entry and barriers to exit, having a plan B that's nearly as agreeable to you than that goal that you set for yourself. And not putting all of your chips on the table. I have to achieve this, and if I can't, everything falls apart. So I appreciate, what you said a little bit earlier, Charles, and I wanted to comment on that. That's a little bit of what I was nodding towards with where our emotions come from. And as our children look at us, and they see us looking at them, one of I think the challenges, especially in this generation and with social media and the way that it works, one of my favorite quotes is, comparison is the thief of joy. And I think it's very easy for all of us to compare ourselves to other people here at Vanderbilt, right? And we post onto social media our highlight reel, but we live our blooper reel, right? Everyone sees the cool things that we're doing, but we see all the goofy things that we're not. And it's a really great research study that I want to share with you that I talk about in one of my classes about Olympic medal winners. I don't know if you've heard about this study, but they looked at the gold, the silver, and the bronze medal winner. And they looked at how much they were smiling. Who do you think smiled the most? The gold medal winner, because they're the gold medalists. Right? They're the best in the world in that event in that year. And I think I heard somebody say it. Who smiled the next most? It wasn't the silver medalist. It was the bronze medalist. And why are they smiling? They're on the platform. They got a medal. But the silver medalist, and all of these photographs, by the way, is kind of got that frown on their face. And you're like, wow, you're the silver medalist. But who are you comparing yourself to? Who you could most believe that you could have been. If I'm the silver medalist, I could have been the gold medalist. The bronze medalist said, I could have been fourth place or out in the stands right now. And I think you're at Vanderbilt University. I mean, you've won a gold medal already to be in this audience and have the privilege of not being here with Charles, myself, and Eric, but to be here and to be healthy and to have these opportunities to think and to learn and develop relationships. And then when you see somebody do something a little better, I think it feels like you're the silver medalist, right? That could have been so much more. And I think this idea of a sense of gratitude, of being that bronze medalist, right? You're not the first place, you're not even the second place, but you're a winner. And so I think comparison can be the thief of joy, but I think the wrong comparison. So I guess whenever I felt, times low about myself and about the failure, I sometimes think, what could have been? And I don't think about the gold medal, I think about fourth place or 17th place. In every 100-yard dash, there's somebody in last place, running, watching the entire field run away from them, even though they know in their mind, I'm at the Olympics. And so I guess one of my strategies, maybe to assuage these feelings that I have and those times where I feel like I haven't been successful, is to really have gratitude for the chance to have the opportunity, and even in my failure, to have a great bronze medal that I can walk away with. So I guess that's a strategy in those cases where you are comparing yourself to others. How do you compare yourself in a way that ultimately is functional?
Yeah, so I do agree that it's a good idea. In behavioral literature, we call it hedonic framing, because in some ways you frame it in such a way that it becomes much more palatable. It's like that cartoon of what Snoopy at Thanksgiving sitting out there going, everybody's having turkey, but I have dog food. He looks down and it's just, at least I'm not the turkey. So that's, what I actually would like to invite you to think about is why we need to be constantly looking for the turkey. Why can't we live turkey-free? What I mean is, I think the reason why you're here is because I do think that there are some very basic questions that you need to address in order to answer the question of what is success in my life. Okay, very basic questions, like what do I believe this journey is all about? Why am I here? What is important to me? How important is relationships compared to work, and how important is the actual pay in my job compared to the sense of contributing to somebody else's welfare or my own personal growth? Those really are important questions. But to answer those questions, you do need to have a sense of why you're taking this journey. That means you have to go and ask questions like, is there a God? And if there is, what does he want from me? Those are legitimate and important questions. It's part of the universal human experience. And it's scary when we actually sanitize campus to the point where we don't even talk about it. So that's why I would encourage you to ask those questions. The most popular course at Stanford right now in undergrad is a course called Designing Your Life. How many of you heard of this? Very good, very good. So so this course was so popular that so many people in undergrad taking it that the people who couldn't get in are being taught by their dorm mates. And what is the art? What is it about? It's about actually it came out of the design school. And basically what they discovered was, just exactly as Professor Andy said, people have been great. Everywhere they go, they get to Stanford campus and they realize, oh, I'm not number one. And all of a sudden, there's a sense of void. And there are mental health issues, there's suicide, there's all sorts of stuff, right? So they decided to really ask people, why don't you step back and ask yourself these questions? And one of the first exercises in this Designing Your Life, by the way, it's become a New York Times bestseller. You can go look it up. I don't get any royalty. It's actually a really good book. One of the first things they asked the students to do is to actually write down your worldview. What do you think this life is about? Do you believe there's a God? What does that have to do with designing your life? Well, it has everything to do with it because you have to ask yourself those very basic questions. And then the next set of questions they ask you is, what is your work view? What do you think? They're not asking you which job do you want. They're asking you why work? What is your philosophy about the role of work in your life? So what's important to you? Why is that important? Because between the two, you have a sense of your moral compass. You have a sense of when life blows you off course, you say, oh yeah, these things are the important things in my life. I know that relationships are more important than tasks, and people are more important than things. I know that, so I'm going to go in that direction. So sorting that out is really important.